How you doing? How you doing? It's a beautiful Sunday afternoon over here in Nashville, and I got my afternoon cup of Joe. Caffeine doesn't bother me in the afternoons. That's good. That's good. I am. Church was great this morning. I'm just about to go enjoy WrestleMania. That's what I'm watching this evening. But before we do that, I thought, let's fix Guitar Center in about 20 minutes, shall we? Shall we? Let's do it. Here's the problem with Guitar Center. I recently went to Guitar Center and had a very typical Guitar Center experience, and it just reminded me of everything that's wrong with Guitar Center. Before I go any further, though, this video is not meant to just hate on Guitar Center. I'm a customer of Guitar Center. I really like Guitar Center. I would like Guitar Center to be a lot better than it is. And I think the problems at Guitar Center are actually not that difficult to fix. I have purchased guitars at Guitar Center this year. I've purchased guitars at Guitar Center every year, probably since I've played. I purchased guitars. I like buying and selling guitars and everything. I would like to do more business with Guitar Center. Let me just say the thing that Guitar Center is doing so right now, which is bringing me into the store on a regular basis, is the used section is bigger than ever, and I'm able to discover new things and find things, and I find that very interesting. I go to the Nashville store and the Franklin store. The Nashville store is kind of a beast unto itself. Nashville, of course, is going to have a unique Guitar Center. It's a unique town for guitar players. Tony in the Vintage Room is really running like a boutique shop within a Guitar Center over there. There's vintage stuff. There's a beautiful room. There's all this high-end stuff, right? That's not really typical. What I'm going to talk about is just straightforward, like the Guitar Center in Franklin, that looks like all the Guitar Centers I see nationwide when I go travel. That's like the typical Guitar Center. So I'm going to talk about that. But again, not meant to beat up on Guitar Center. I'm really making this for Guitar Center. I've run a couple businesses in my career, and now I just sit in my, my basement here, and I just play guitar. And but let me say this: if at any of those businesses that I was a part of, if a customer had sat down and sort of thoughtfully wanted to share how they thought the business could be better, what they liked about it, but where we completely fall flat, and what they would do to fix it, and really gave it some thought, I would listen to that person as insight, not as the end-all be-all authority on Guitar Center, because obviously people within an organization closest to it, they have insight that no one else is going to have. But I would really listen to a customer who's saying, hey, these are my major pain points and here's what I'd like to see you do, especially if these things are relatively easy to do. I would really listen to them and consider them. So if you're the CEO of Guitar Center, I sincerely hope you watch this video. I hope the management Guitar Center watches this video, because I think these are pretty simple things, but I think they're actually quite profound. Let's get right into them. I went to Guitar Center. I had about an hour to waste. This happens from time to time for me. I live just a little bit out of town, so I could have gone home, but I would have had like 30 minutes at home before I had to leave again to go get my son, who I had left at drum lessons at another institution to have drum lessons, not a Guitar Center. Why? I don't know. I know Guitar Center does lessons, but I've never noticed that those are marketed towards me. I have no opinion on Guitar Center lessons other than they weren't there. I've seen them appear in my lifetime. Now they're there. I have nothing to say about it. The store experience for me at Guitar Center is always the same, and it was like this. I had an hour to kill. I'm a person that could be tempted by a halfway good instrument or a halfway good deal. So I'm going into the store, I'm wandering in there, and all this merchandising effort and the look of the store and all the deals, something should speak to me. I'm a guitar player, right? I go in there and I have been looking at some Epiphones. I was looking, here's like a kind of a main guitar for me right now. I was looking for sort of a backup. I bought a couple and trying them out, bringing them back if I don't like it. 2 of those are going to stay. And none of them bought a Guitar Center because they don't have the latest Epiphone models on the floor. I don't know what that's about, but whatever. Something to think about. I go in and it's the very typical Guitar Center experience. It's 5 kids all playing loud, ba da ba 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 ba, super loud. At one point, one kid even just turned on an amp and it just started feeding back and ringing, and he didn't quite know how to turn it off right away. And very normal Guitar Center experience, right? I pulled out a guitar. I'd kind of like to try it more. I'm interested in trying it more. And, but there's no real place for me to do that, right? There's 5 other songs going on. The only time anybody came up to me was when they said, hey, can I help you with anything? And they were yelling because they were having to speak over a bunch of just chaos and noise. And so for me, the store I only like going on the weekdays in the afternoons because the store is basically just a giant chaotic cortisol spike experience. And I'm not necessarily always into that. Now, there was a guitar there I could have been tempted into buying. It was a 335 type guitar. I try out every 335 lately that's in any store I see. I just pick it up, try it. You learn a lot by trying hundreds and hundreds of guitars of the same type or a couple different makers, you know. You learn a lot. You figure out the feel, the neck stuff. You just pick up a lot, right? You just pick up a lot picking up an instrument. And so that was my experience. I was driven out of the store, and it's probably not the experience Guitar Center wants me to have. And so I started looking around on my way out, at the store, and on the way to the car, I started thinking, what would I change about this store? And here's the big two things I would change that I think would have a profound impact on the business. One is I think the merchandising is completely wrong. It's actually completely upside down. I think that the assumptions that were made, the opposite is true. What I mean by that is when you look at a Guitar Center, it looks like it's designed so that you have this feel of, wow, look at all these guitars that go all the way up the wall. And I'm looking at, wow, this huge collection of guitars so that I can stand here and just sort of see this massive selection. And there's amps and everything, and there's all this merchandising stuff happening, these displays. And but all the guitars are oriented towards you, or they're slightly turned, but you can still see them towards you. But it's slightly turned so that you can make more space for all of them. But many, many guitars, even the retail, little things, like here's the new American series from Fender, right? They're on these sort of movable carts or in these stands, and they're all towards you, right? And so this, I understand, comes from the idea that customers probably want to see selection, right? And I would imagine at some point, somebody who designed these stores, because I've been a part of a lot of these conversations, they thought, the big thing we're trying to communicate with brands, with Guitar Center is this is the authority, the one-stop shop for guitar players. Look at the selection. We have selection from $5,000 down to $150. We have jazz and bass and guitar and rock and blues and Fender and Gibson. It's all about the selection. Guitar Center is the authority. It's the one-stop shop for guitar. That's cool. I think the problem with that is it ignores what customers actually want to do in a store. And so they have this thing where all the guitars are on the wall so that you can see them. I can certainly see lots of guitars. And then all the amps are sort of in the middle with these other things and some merchandise stuff in the middle, right? These things to pick up, accessories and things in the middle. And I can't help but notice all my favorite guitar stores are the opposite, where the guitars are actually off of the wall in the middle and the amps are pushed to the sides. Why would you do that? Amps are not something that you actually want or need to see the back of. Amps are designed to face one way and sort of work that way. The back of an amp is actually something that nobody puts any thought into. It's where all the jacks are, it's where the speakers. I don't think you need a 360 view of that, but you do actually want kind of a 360 view of the guitar, which is why I prefer shops that actually have 5 guitars lined up and then 5 guitars lined up, and I can sort of walk around it because I want to pick it up and feel it. I don't actually want to just pull it off the wall and now I got to go sit down. The other thing, the problem with having all the amps in the middle is these Guitar Centers have arranged all these amps so that they're all plugged in. They're all sort of in squares or circles so that they all face out and so that you can grab a guitar off the wall and go try it. That is what you want to do at a Guitar Center. The problem is we don't want to try it out while everyone else is playing another song near us. So it would seem very obvious to me that you actually, instead of putting all the guitars on the wall and putting 2/3 of the guitars high up where I can't reach them and I have to get an associate to reach them, I actually wish more guitars were down where I could grab them. And I understand the need to have a display like this. And someone in the comments is going to say, hey, HW, you don't understand. Guitar Center, 90% of their business is the first-time guitar player. They really make their bread and butter. We sell, someone who works there is going to say, oh no, the $300 starter pack, we sell, 100 times more of those than a Gibson custom shop. No, I understand that. Nothing I'm going to suggest is going to get in the way of that. You can have a beautiful end cap, a beautiful merchandising sort of thing that shows $150 guitar, $150 amp, $100 in accessories available for $350, right? You already have that customer, right? Guitar Center is great at getting that customer. I'm not trying to fix anything or ruin anything for that customer. You're going to have that customer by virtue of being in a retail space near a Home Depot, so that the dad, when he's driving around going to the Home Depot, he knows Guitar Center's right there. You're gonna have that customer because mom on her way to Target or Starbucks is gonna know the Guitar Center's right there, Starbucks or Target, and they're gonna know. So Guitar Center's gonna be top of mind for them when they wanna buy little Jimmy a starter set. And when you go in, you do need that end cap kind of display, that really nice thing, and that to get pushed. What I'm saying is 2/3 of the guitars are out of my reach. I have to reach up and try to grab them. I'm a tall guy. I have to reach up and try to grab them while there's like 3 different radio stations playing behind me. It's a really bad experience. And I can only tolerate it for 20, 30 minutes before I want to get out of there. And so my question to Guitar Center would be this. You obviously have a lot of young people, because this is what I noticed. It's young people who are playing these guitars really loud because they just want to play guitar and they don't have money to afford all this stuff. And so they're learning by being in there. They're practicing a song at home. They go and they want to play it on a much better, more expensive guitar. They want to try out this gear and it's available to them. Those customers are customers of yours. They're probably not your best customers, but they are customers of yours. They like going to Guitar Center to waste time. But customers like me don't, because they're there or because of what they're doing. So what you really need to do is get the guitars off the wall, get it where everyone can see them. You need to actually make the amps a little bit harder to play. And what do I mean by that? Well, don't make them harder to play necessarily so that I can't play them. You need to build like 4 or 5 booths per store where I can go in, have a small little closet where it can be overly cramped. I'm fine if they're very cramped, where an associate can say, hey dude, you want to try that out? Let me plug you into an amp so you can really get the experience. Go into that room. If that room is small, they're less likely to turn it up very loud because they're not in a giant room. It's going to be very loud when it's right in front of them, not this big open air thing. The other thing is this not only gives me a space to try out a guitar that I might be interested in, it does 3 things. It gives me a space to try something out if I'm really interested. It improves the experience on the sales floor because now I can pick up this thing and go, and I can grab 2 others and see how does this thing ring compared to something else. It also gives the sales associate a tool that he can use to say, hey dude, let me hook you up with a room. We got a great amp in there you'll love. He can turn it on, he can close that door. You've just reduced the decibel level of the floor for everyone else. And he can let that kid sit in there for 15, 20 minutes, and then he can go in and apply just a slight bit of pressure just by saying, hey man, how do you like that thing? Is there anything else you want to try out today? That's a friendly enough pressure to just say, hey, I'm willing to get you anything else. But if not, I'm just reminding you, you're in a store. Is it like the point is to buy something? People will hear that language and they'll go, oh no, thanks man, appreciate it. Maybe they'll play for another 20 minutes. Maybe they'll just get their stuff and leave it. You know what I mean? But I think it improves dramatically the experience of Guitar Center. And this is where I think Guitar Center really needs to stop viewing their stores. I'm sure that at some level someone thought these Guitar Center layouts were just perfect. I can see all these guitars and the amps are all in the middle. And then they got pedals way out over there. That's not how we want to shop. Like, I don't care that you have 300 guitars. I don't care. I go to shops that have way less selection than you and I prefer them because I have a better experience, because I don't need 300 guitars. I actually only need like 12 guitars on the wall, and there's only like 3 I'm probably gonna actually consider trying out, and I wanna try against each other to arrive at one. Now, your Guitar Center, you're gonna have a lot of guitars, you got this great big used wall. I love it, I love it, I love all that stuff. But so many things are out of reach, I can't get to it. Take the guitars down, get those in the middle. Guitars are what you wanna touch. Amps are what you wanna plug into and experience. I should be able to, when I go into Guitar Center, I should be able to touch 20 guitars and only 1 or 2 amps if I really feel like it, right? And those amps should be in a room, in a booth. There should be very few amps that are ready plugged in on the sales floor. Not to say there's none, but think about what you want them to be, because it's probably a lot better that those are deluxe reverbs and AC30s than they are EVH amps. That should be in a room, right? That should be, because ba 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 ba. Whatever amps the young kids are coming in making the most noise on, put it in a room, let those kids go in the room. I'm not saying anything against those kids. You want them in there. They are customers of Guitar Center. I used to be one of those kids. Guitar players like me, we got nothing but love for those kids. Put them in a room though. Let them have their experience and play. But they don't need to be, I don't need them to be right over my ear when I'm trying to pull down 2 or 3 guitars. And I should be able to grab every 335 in the store without asking an associate to go get a ladder or get something to me. Because the other thing is these associates are so busy because you got this computer system that takes so long, which is to ring anybody up, which is another thing. Why can't you just come over to me when I say I'm interested in a guitar? Why don't you have one of those little computer things you can just walk over and ring me up, right? That would be a great way to do it. I think Guitar Center largely views the store as an advantage. Oh, we're the place you can go and actually touch the thing. And when you're doing business with somebody like Sweetwater, you can't touch the thing. I think that's right. I think that's right, but I don't think that's a helpful way to view your store. I actually think Guitar Center needs to start viewing its store as a giant liability. And they need to go into the store and say, what are the pain points? Because here's the thing, Sweetwater has so much goodwill with people, and Guitar Center, I think, has a lot less goodwill for this reason. Not that Sweetwater has an advantage over Guitar Center. The very existence of Sweetwater actually shows you that Guitar Center is dropping the ball. Sweetwater should not exist. Guitar Center, there's nothing that Sweetwater does that Guitar Center could not do very easily. So what does Sweetwater do as a business? Someone from Sweetwater is going to say, we do a lot more than that. No, you don't. Here you go. Here's what Sweetwater does. Sweetwater gets guitars from manufacturers. They open up the box. They photograph them. They barcode them, they put them for sale on the website, then they give them to UPS. That's Sweetwater. That's their whole business. And it's actually pretty easy to not mess that up, right? So they've got, they got Plex. You can get all your guitars Plex, right? So they open them up, they photograph them, so I don't have to buy just a make and a model. I can buy the specific one. I want the 7 ounce, I want the 7 pound, 6 ounce, telly, right? Okay, great. I barcoded it, I can pull it for you, I've given it to UPS. There's very little that can actually go wrong. So it's hard for Sweetwater to make you an offer as a consumer and then get that wrong. Then what they do, because they have no ability to really give you a personal touch or a human experience, they hire, kind of an overly eager young man who is kind of knowledgeable about gear, and that's good. I nothing against those guys. But they call and they go, hey man, how are you liking that capo? And it's like, bro, you don't need to call me in the middle of the day. I'm working. I think something's wrong with my order or whatever, right? How are you using that Quad Cortex power supply? It's like, I don't know, I'm using it to power my Quad Cortex. Nothing against those guys. I don't need a phone call. I wish there was a button I could press that says, I do not need a phone call unless something is wrong and you need my attention, right? I wish there was a button that just said, I'm a little busy. Please don't call me unless this is important. They have to do that, and it gets people in this thing like, oh, my Sweetwater rep said this, my Sweetwater rep said this. In actuality, people's Sweetwater rep know nothing more than the public. They have a date in their computer when they expect to get something. I had a recent experience with the Line 6 Stadium. I wanted to buy one. I pre-ordered through Sweetwater. It came out. Mine didn't ship. It didn't ship. It didn't ship. It didn't ship. We're almost a week after it comes out, and I'm telling Sweetwater, hey, listen, I pre-ordered it like right away. Why hasn't it shipped? Oh, it's right about to ship, dude. We got more coming at the end of the week. Meanwhile, Guitar Center, I could have gone to a Guitar Center and gotten one. And what I ended up doing was just going on guitarcenter.com. They had it to my house in 48 hours. They had them readily available. There is no real advantage Sweetwater has over any other structurally in their business. There's no advantage. They have size, but they have size because they're a factory of goodwill and getting you the stuff you want. And because Guitar Center has been at times very difficult to deal with. So I think Guitar Center needs to look at their store and stop viewing it as, wow, we're this one-stop shop. Look, it's such an advantage to come in here. No, it's actually, your stores in a lot of ways are actually a factory for bad will. And you need to address those points with, I think, what I'm saying. Because what I'm saying, the heart of what I'm saying is your guitar players are not being, we're not able to try out 10 guitars quickly like we want to. We're not able to walk in and actually put our hands on the models to feel them and play them and have a semi-decent experience playing them. We're not able to do that in your stores. It is not providing that experience. And I think there's nothing about what I'm suggesting that takes away or hurts the beginner business or the lesson business or whatever. I think it's just logical that guitar players like myself should want to waste time in Guitar Center. You should be luring us in and tempting us, right? The problem should be that My wife should be banning me from going to Guitar Center. My wife she doesn't even care that I go to Guitar Center because I never get anything at a Guitar Center practically. I might go 20 times and only buy something one time. It doesn't even like clock on her radar. Now, what do I have a real problem with? I go on Reverb every day and I look at cool gear. And I do, like I said, I look at used gear on guitarcenter.com too. That's the stuff I've been buying. There's great deals. And I go into Guitar Center and, I get some, I don't know, I've found some from time to time, but it really is. I go look at that used wall pretty often. I think Guitar Center just needs to flip what they're doing. I need to be able to put my hands on more guitars. It needs to be a little more difficult to turn an amp to 10. I don't see what's not good in the business about that. You are going to sell more amps if people can actually crank up amps and try them. There's so many used amps I've thought about. I would never even plug one of them in my local Guitar Center. It's so loud and open and everything. And dude, I can play the guitar, man. And but I don't want to sit there and play for it. I will if I'm very interested in a guitar. I want to hear how the pickups balance or whatever. But it's not enjoyable. There needs to be some rooms that have a little pedal board in there or a multi-effects. And what needs to be on the sales floor is the silent solution. You need to have a Quad Cortex or something, or a Helix right there that's turned on, headphones. Boom, I can grab any guitar, walk over, there's a strap, whatever. I can sit right there. 2 steps. Where those amps are in the middle, don't have them be loud. That should be the silent solution stuff. Amps should be in booths on the side. You can shut down 1/5 of the store and build this into the corner of every Guitar Center. This should not be that hard. Last thing, and here's I think the really good idea that I would really use 100%. Dear Guitar Center, after all of everything I just described, I think the general feeling of the consumer is you don't really care that much, because I think there is a lot of instruments that are in disrepair or need some love on the sales floor. You know how to fix that. I'm not going to harp on you for that. But what I will say is this: why should I care about you if you don't care about me? I don't feel that I'm rewarded for any loyalty or anything for being a Guitar Center customer. And I think if you want Guitar Center to be the one-stop shop for guitars, which I think is how the whole place looks to be merchandised, I would give me some reason to come back and do business with you. There needs to be some robust rewards program. And I would suggest Guitar Center bucks. It's cheesy, it's silly, but if you put very little rules on it, you will have a lot of success. Here's exactly how I would do it. If I buy a $1,000 guitar from Guitar Center, or anything over $50 or something, right? And maybe anything over $100. I think that you should get, like if I spend $1,000, I think I should get a $50 Guitar Center buck piece of paper. It can look like a dollar bill, a Guitar Center buck, and it should say 50 on it, and it can have a barcode. And I think those should not be attached to my account. They should be as good as cash, with only one restriction. I should be able to give it to my friends. I should be able to do whatever. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter if I have 10 $50 ones. I've got $500 in Guitar Center. But here's the caveat. My Guitar Center bucks can only be used for up to 50% of each purchase. Meaning, if I spend $1,000 and I get $50 in Guitar Center bucks, when I come back, I can't use all $50 at one time unless I'm spending at least $100. If I'm coming in for 2 packs of strings and it's $22, cool. I can use 11 of my Guitar Center bucks. And this, I think, is going to help people save up Guitar Center bucks and for actual sizable purchases, or they'll end up using them to put a dent in something that they already have. It'll keep money going into Guitar Center, because I know they probably don't want to, they're not just trying to throw in 5% worth of accessories on every purchase. But what it does is it breaks it up, which means those Guitar Center bucks, $50 in Guitar Center bucks, probably means that person who just bought a guitar is going to end up coming into Guitar Center 2 more times. And that 2 more times is probably enough to make them see a new amp, make them see a new guitar. It's probably going to mean that they're going to purchase more on the second time. Maybe the first time, yeah, they spend their $11. Second time they go in, they're buying something worth $150 to use that $40. That's less than the... So my point is the discount across all of those purchases is actually far less than 5%. But because those Guitar Center bucks represent real value to me, it's real money in terms of it knocks money off stuff I'm going to buy anyway. It keeps me going into Guitar Center rather than going to all the other places. And this is where Guitar Center is really losing with me. Why would I go buy strings in Guitar Center and accessories in Guitar Center when many, many small accessories like strings, like capos, like all that stuff, Amazon can get them to me same day. So if I don't need it before that night or whatever, because usually Amazon will deliver in like the middle of the night, if I do it same day. But they'll deliver between 7 and 10 p.m., right? Now, I might already kind of be, winding down my day and in bed. I'm not going to use my fret file, at that hour, although maybe I will. But I'll probably use it the next day, me personally. But why should I go to Guitar Center? Why should I take the trip to Guitar Center? It takes me far longer. So unless I need it immediately at that moment, I'm buying strings, and strings are not more expensive on Amazon than they are at Guitar Center. That's not. So by giving me real Guitar Center bucks to come back, I'm incentivized to come do business there, to look at your used wall, which I think is great that you're doing all the used stuff. I really, that has gotten me as a customer back in the store. But what stops me when I'm in the store from buying guitars that I otherwise probably could be tempted into buying, it's just that the experience is not good. I can't try them out, and I don't feel like I really gain anything. I would buy more stuff from you and a lot less stuff from Sweetwater or Reverb if you gave me these Guitar Center bucks, because I would really view it as, oh yeah, I'll go swing by and get another strap. I'll do this, I'll do that. And while I'm in there, I'd end up going, oh yeah, that strap's cool. Plus I got the Guitar Center bucks, so why not? It's like half off. I mean, I would do that. I mean, so I don't know if Guitar Center's margins are such that they couldn't, take some money off of all that stuff. But here's the thing. If you don't do that, I might just buy the $1,000 guitar from Sweetwater. And so you don't have the $1,000 sale or those other sales. And I think if you design it right, you end up getting the $1,000 sale, plus you end up getting a larger cart purchase, and you get people over those 2 or 3 transactions, and you get people coming back to your store. You got to provide them real value. That just seems like a no-brainer to me. And that's what I would do. Maybe that was longer than 20 minutes, but that's what I would do to fix Guitar Center. I'm curious if anybody else has any ideas. I'm really hoping that they watch this and just sort of take it in. I think all people really want is to just have an experience where they can try out guitars and actually feel like you went to a friend's house to try them. And I'll make one more suggestion. This is really at the heart, I think, of what Guitar Center needs to do. Guitar Center should change its name to Guitar Smile. Not really, but at least internally, call it Guitar Smile. And the whole point of your business should just be to make me smile when I'm around guitars. If you do that, I'll buy tons of stuff from your store, because that's all we're here for, right? I love guitars. I just, you try something out, you're like, oh man, that's awesome. Guitars are awesome, dude. Like, we do business with Guitar Center in spite of it being kind of a crummy experience. And that's because any room full of guitars is kind of an awesome room, right? But there's enough going wrong that is driving me out. Like, I get my 20, 30 minutes of it, and then I'm just like, I'm out of here. So I would internally think of yourself as Guitar Smile. And instead of revenue, I would target number of smiles. And if you do that, the money will just fall into your lap, because you're dealing with people who just have a love for the thing you sell. And they're willing to probably go over budget and go way too often and probably stretch themselves financially to play these awesome instruments. And if you can just get them to smile, you're not really selling guitars. You're selling, the love of music and the love of life. Because guitars are life, man. Guitars are win. Music is win. Music is life. It's awesome. It's such a life-giving thing. So at the heart of what I'm saying in a sentence is guitars should make you smile. And if you're doing that, I think you'll be very successful. Let me know in the comments down below what you think Guitar Center should do. I've been HW.